Grandma keeps pushing her antique values on me. I love her but need her to drop this, if only for my daughter's sake. This has a long backstory, please bear with me. To preface, me, late 20s female, and my grandma, early 80s female, have always been close. My father has been mostly absent and a jerk, so my immediately family consisted of my mother and my grandma. My grandma is a wonderful old lady. She has many interests. Since she stopped being fully mobile, she's online all the time, following her family and many friends. She is very progressive. For example, she's a huge ally for LGBTQ. She has one big flaw, IMO, and that is how rigid her view is on gender roles. She loves to tell how at her wedding her mother asked her new husband to feel free to physically punish her, my grandma, if she ever failed to do chores. She thinks it was cute. She also keeps on talking about how a woman has to have her house in order before she can do anything else, meaning unless your windows are cleaned once a month, all laundry done, floor spotless, white glove inspection ready, no friends, no hobbies, no rest. And if your man helps you, you're not a woman and will burn in hell basically. It really is such a strange point of her personality that we keep butting heads over this. I'm told I'm stubborn after her. She's been trying to push this on me and my mom since I could remember. I used to brush her off, but now I've got a daughter and I really don't want her to be fed this once she understands more, so it is core and more of a topic because I now stand up to her whenever she's muttering it under her breath at family lunches etc. We see each other almost daily as she and my mother live 10 minutes away. Something we decided to do very intentionally. The mutual agreement is that we support them as much as possible, car rides, groceries, house maintenance etc., and they help with childcare. Also grandma visits regularly and knows that my place is okay, might not be spotless but it is clean and about as organized as a home can be with a very mobile toddler reigning supreme. I cook every meal for my baby and most of the adult meals. I'm on top of the laundry and have a huge jungle if we'll kept houseplants. In other words, I'm a normal capable adult. I'm a pretty busy person. I'm a mom of a toddler, also a post-grad student, and a business owner. I do my share of the chores, which is now hugger than my husband's due to circumstances, but keeping the house spotless is not and never will be my #1 priority. I'm also a strong believer in gender equality as is my husband. Grandma is going crazy over all this. She always believed that motherhood will make me into a proper housewife, which honestly lol. I have huge respect for moms. What they do is very hard, but I also know I'd go crazy. If I abandoned my business, which I've been building for a decade, I'd become resentful and would be deeply unhappy. So for the past couple of months the relationship between me and Granny has been on the rocks because of this. She keeps calling me to ask things like what will you be serving your husband for dinner once he gets home? And I say he ends way before I do. I don't know if he plans on cooking. She's livid. She keeps telling me about how her husband, Grandpa, died when I was a baby so I've never met him, never helped her, how she could never leave the kids with him because the one time she did my uncle's poop was all over the wall and my mom had fallen off a shelf. How he never did groceries or anything. Just came home after work, at 4 p.m. and just relaxed by the TV while she worked and did everything, and she thinks every woman should. I've recently realized how deeply her words had gotten to me without realizing it. My husband proposed getting a cleaning lady a couple of times a month because we're both very busy. I broke down crying because I thought he wants to tell me I'm a useless wife. Then I realize how ridiculous I was. But I needed to be ensured like a 100x that he doesn't see my value as a woman and how polished our floors are. After realizing this I'm doubly decided that I don't want this for my daughter. So last week I was talking about a new project we have in my company, and it came to light that because of the extra workload last weekend, my husband was doing the childcare and chores and I was working on the big project. For one whole afternoon. Oh the horror. Grandma scoffed as usual and announced I would have never let that happen. I'd feel so ashamed. I can't even sleep thinking about how terribly we've raised you. I couldn't anymore and I just told her. I'm sorry for how much your life sucked, but stop trying to push it on others. It makes me so sad to think how much further our society could have been if women were not forced to waste all their time on useless chores. You are a very smart woman. The fact that you've spent all your time cleaning stuff over and over again even though it is clean already just means you've wasted that time. Others won't make that mistake if I have a say in it. Grandma got terribly offended. I know I was being harsh, but I was so fed up of trying to stop her from seeing my point of view. If she could only just live and let live, but she just has to push my buttons. Just yesterday I've shared a picture of my daughter getting into my laundry basket with warm clothes from the dryer. She does that because it's nice, they're warm and smell nice. But Grandma went, at least she will be a proper woman. My mom's pissed at me, saying Grandma is an old lady and that I can't talk to her like that. I know she's old but she's sharp and witty, and I see no reason to not be direct with her. We've had our quarrels before, because we're the two most ram-headed people you'll meet, but we always come on top of it. I love my grandma, but this is really getting on my nerves. Also I know that she's been terrorizing with the same stuff since she moved in with her. Grandma's health means she can't live alone anymore. She's always on my mum's back about absolutely excessive useless chores and is using them as a reason why she should not see her friends. I know my mum is frustrated about this but she won't say anything because old lady. My grandma is otherwise genuinely a nice person. She's funny, smart, she's amazing with my daughter and my daughter loves her. Grandma is genuinely one of her favorite people, like 1. Mom, 2. Dad, 3. Great-grandma, you can just see her light up when we meet and she's done this since she was a couple weeks old. I don't plan on separating them in any way, but I need my grandma to realize her views are dated and harmful. ETA, I should add that Grandma herself is not a housewife. She had a very stellar career in education, prominent headmaster with awards. Thank you all for amazing advice. Some of you really made me see new ways of working with this and others have shown me a different view of the situation I would not have thought of. I love my grandma very much, so thank you for all that. I believe it will help our relationship immensely. Edit 2. So you guys made me realize why I'm bothered by this. Why I can't just let her say it and greenick it, why I feel I have to protest, why it gets me so worked up. And I'm kinda overwhelmed over here. So it all ties to the one person I know who was a housewife, my mother. She was an academic but was forced to throw it all away and to be a housewife by my father's demands and lifestyle. He quickly proceeded to manipulate her, financially abuse her. Grandma knows, she had to buy my mom a winter coat because hers fell apart after years of wearing and Dad wouldn't give her money to buy another one. My father was physically abusive towards me, not sexually and not to the point of broken bones but enough to get me some serious trauma. And verbally abusive towards my mom. She was trapped, a housewife without any income, whose rich husband gives her pennies to pay for everything. She is not somebody who will stand up for herself, so I tried standing up for her. I remember making her use the child support to buy her first new clothes since I could remember, how she cried. I remember her getting back into the workforce after he left us, how hard it was. I remember Grandma saying had you been a better wife, he would have stayed. You were always a messy person. When she found out about the divorce, she claims she's never said it and I think she felt really bad about it so she chose to forget that, but I know that had hurt my mom deeply. My dad is a serious cheater. I was always terrified of ending up like her, that's why I put so much into my work. I know it looks stupid and obvious but these two things, childhood trauma and grandma's pushing, just never connected in my brain. I'm pretty sure I've suppressed some of it at some point. I'm kinda overwhelmed. I'm glad my husband is outside with my daughter. I'm down with the flu, so I can process all this in a bit of peace. Thank you all, I hope I'm making a hit of sense. Because in my brain when she pushes for this, I see my mom. She waited for my dad with a warm dinner. She did everything. Being a housewife was her main priority. After she was pushed into it, she was raised by my grandma after all. And she was so unhappy. Now for the top comments. There was a fun post in one of the Just No forums, in which a woman replied to every demand from her mill with a very cheerful no thank you. Do the same. Airy and cheerful and fecking delighted isn't as amazing that doesn't happen anymore? My husband gets home before me and he cooks for both of us so we can have a quiet moment together. Gosh, he is just such a lovely man. I'm so lucky. Gush. Like, seriously gush. Anything she criticizes, gush about. Be happy. You didn't clean? Oh, we made the most beautiful of drawings with the kidlet. I'm going to keep this forever, I just love her so much. You didn't laundry? I had the hardest of tests/group projects but I did so well. I know you'll be very proud of me. Proper woman comments. She will be fantastic at whatever she wants to be, and I will give her the wings to reach the stars. Grump can only grump if you give her ground to stand on. Yes, it's irritating in the extreme, and if your grandma was like mine I'd tell you to add bite to the sauce. My grandma's "you don't cook for your husband" gets replied with "he's got hands," which makes her splutter and stop. You don't want to antagonize her directly, but you want to make it so it'll become obvious. Old or not. Flood her with positivity. Bonus points if you throw in pity for her circumstances. Oh grandma. It must have been so hard to have nothing to make you happy when you were young. Hobbies. I'm so glad so many generations of women fought to give us all a chance at happiness. Next comment. Just a heads up that this isn't because your grandma is an old lady, it's because she's got her head filled with toxicity. My grandparents' marriage had a very similar dynamic. Grampy was a kind and gentle man, but he did not cook or clean, and my grandmother is always surprised at how egalitarian my marriage is. But it delights her. Oh wow, I can't believe your husband cooks. Your grandfather never cooked. And I'm just like, I know Nana, I'm so lucky. I wonder if you leaned into it. Like, yeah grandma, I'm a miserable example at womanhood, I'm so lucky my husband likes me just the way I am. Yes grandma, I'm raising my kiddo to practice witchcraft and destroy all men. Next comment. I think this is a backwards compliment that maybe even Grammy doesn't understand. I think she respects, admires and is impressed by you, and is hoping you'll validate her life choices by making them your own. If her hero, that is you, copies some of grandma's methods, then she can be proud of the impact she has made. Means she did things right. End of life logic. As for what to do about it, I think the only solution is a sit-down heart-to-heart shout. If you must scream, if you have to cry it out, hug it out. 100% honesty, bridge breaking and rebuilding conversation. Or, you know, something calmer maybe. Tell grandma that times change. Just as she didn't have to go out gathering berries and nuts and rooting for tubers and instead did what was required from or expected of a woman in her day, that's exactly what you are doing in your day. Next comment. First, I bet if grandma and grandpa could have afforded a cleaner, nanny or any other woman to do the women's work, they would have done so. Secondly, might a spotless house be a bit of OCD on grandma's part, and I mean legitimately. Not the social meaning, but clinical? Something she must do? As far as useless attitudes landing on your daughter, this is a time to teach that all people have opinions, and like armpits, they can stink. But we love grandma. She's positive in the various ways, and we learn to let her be wrong in these other ways. It can teach tolerance. Next comment. It sounds like you are busy, but could you fit in finding a therapist and seeing them online periodically? This person is bullying you and your mom, and you're right to keep her vocalizing and muttering away from your child. You can see how her words already have harmed you and informed your actions for 20 years. There's no changing her behavior unless there's a consequence to it. Search this sub for Grey Rocking, and create some boundaries with grandma. If, as you say, she's bright and has her wits about her, her saying these things isn't involuntary. She's choosing to hurt you with her words. I'm sorry to say this, because I know you have held her in high regard, since you love her.